Unit 1 Biology. Now, in the last video, we talked about negative feedback. We talked about homeostasis, which is keeping things the same using negative feedback loops. Now, there's a couple of examples we need to know, which is to do with positive feedback. And this is when a change happens and we want it to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes? And that would be a positive feedback loop. Consider this, there's negative feedback and positive feedback. Yes, if you don't tidy your room, you're not going to get any pocket money, and I'm going to wave my finger at you even more. Yeah, that's negative feedback. Positive feedback, well done, lovely tidy room, here's £5. Yeah, what's going to happen is you'll spend most of your life tidying your room and you'll get more and more and more money. So negative feedback, positive feedback. Now, positive feedback is when a change results in a response which amplifies the effect of that change. So the change gets bigger. Yes, or not the change, but the effect of the change gets bigger and bigger. The two examples that we need to know are contractions in childbirth and blood clotting. So, contractions. So, the inside mummy's tummy, this baby's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When the baby reaches a certain size, then it's pressing on the cervix, and the cervix is kind of very close to the vagina. It's the entrance of the uterus, the narrow part of the uterus connected to the vagina. And when the pressure, because of this big baby pressing on there, then the woman starts getting contractions. Now, contractions are the muscles of the uterus tighten and relax and tighten and relax. And what that does is it helps to dilate the cervix, because the cervix, at some point, the baby's going to have to leave. So the cervix is going to have to be very dilated, big enough for the baby to get out. And it starts moving the baby into the right position. So they are contractions, yeah, the muscles of the uterus tightening and then relaxing and then tightening and then relaxing. Now, the pressure on the cervix, and there are receptors in the cervix, send a message to part of the brain. So this is through the nervous system. And this triggers the pituitary gland, oh, we've met him before, to release a hormone called oxytocin. And that intensifies the contractions. So the contractions get bigger and they happen more often. Okay, this is one of the ways that when you go and see the doctor and the nurse or whatever, the midwife, they know how close you are to giving birth because they time the contractions. The contractions get closer and closer together. Okay, and that leads to more pressure and a stronger response, more and more contractions. The cervix is getting more and more dilated until eventually, hopefully, baby comes out. And that's a positive feedback loop. So you've got nerve cells in the cervix, detect the pressure, sends a signal to the brain. That sends a signal to the pituitary gland to release this hormone, oxytocin, and that intensifies the contractions. Blood clotting. We've already talked a bit about blood clotting and how it works. See if you can see in this description whereabouts is the positive feedback in here. So a vessel is torn due to some kind of injury, and collagen, this protein collagen, is exposed to the air. So platelets, I imagine platelets as being like little broken biscuits, which are like bits of blood vessels which aren't particularly doing anything most of the time. Platelets are attracted to the collagen and they form a clump over the injury. And then the platelets release chemicals that attract other platelets to the site, and they convert fibrinogen into fibrin. And that basically means that you get this mesh protein mesh of fibrin, like a net. Yes, and then platelets get caught in this net. The fibrin forms a mesh that traps red blood vessels. This reinforces the platelet plug, and it forms a stable clot, and you don't bleed to death. Okay, so where's the positive feedback in there? And I reckon it's there. The platelets release chemicals that attract other platelets to the site. Yes, and until you have a stable clot, okay, you get more and more and more platelets getting trapped in this net of fibrin. So blood clotting, another example of a positive feedback loop. The goal is to get a stable blood clot formed as soon as possible after the injury. And this enzyme thrombin is an important part of the positive feedback loop. Okay, this is the signal, this chemical signal. Yes, this will attract more platelets to the wound. Yes, it causes other clotting factors to be activated, which releases even more thrombin. So you get more and more thrombin. You get a thrombin burst, it's called. Yes, like an avalanche of thrombin. And this carries on until very, very quickly, hopefully, you have a stable clot. You don't want to hang around too long while you're laying on the floor bleeding. We want the clot to form as quickly as possible.